Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the Pop Art Hunter channel. And today we're going to be taking a somber look at a frame job gone wrong. No, not too bad. I actually didn't screw up the frame job. I don't think that much, but I could have maybe done something a little bit better. I walked by my panoramic original background from Charlotte's Web from the Arable Farm, and it's sinking. Like, actually the adhesive on the tape I believe came loose and it fell. And so I want to make sure we get in there, double check everything, possibly apply more tape. When I first started doing these framing jobs, I try to use as little tape as possible. I think maybe on this one I used too little tape, or because it is a panoramic piece and much heavier, it might have just sunk under the weight of itself, and so I might have to apply more tape even still, or in a different way. So I'm going to take a look at that, see what actually is wrong, and try to remedy that so that there's no issues with like paint transfer, which shouldn't be as big of an issue because it's the paint original background and not so much like a cell that maybe would remove from the acetate or the the cell itself, and so we shouldn't have an issue there, but we want to make sure we get it fixed. So let's go ahead and get started. Alrighty, so you can see here that the tape across the top has detached and this has fallen, and so you can see that white space is actually the museum rag mat that's in the back. So we are going to flip this over. It's a large one here. I'm going to knock the camera around. And let's just go ahead and get inside this and see what we can do. It's probably going to be just a simple job of adding more tape. I don't imagine it would be anything else than that. Again, because this is not a cell with inside there, I'm not as worried about the condition, because if it's touching, it's not going to cause too big of an issue. Yeah, but we want to make sure that we correct it. So I'm actually doing stuff over here. This is a long painting, so I'm off camera opening up these little tabs. Let me open some tabs at the top at the same time so that you can see that I'm actually doing something. And that's the one problem with this, is you have so many of these little tabs that it takes forever to stink and open it. And depending on if you have a good set of fingernails or you want to damage your hands, hey, you can get into it. Okay, so let's open this up. Yeah, we got those out. Yeah, let me just pull a corner. I think I might be missing one of these. No, it's just very tight. It's just very tight in there, which is good that we've got some space, but it doesn't make it easy to get stuff out. Okay, so we're gonna take this out. Come on, you little guy. There we go. Okay, so I'm gonna lean that up here. Yeah, and you can see that it just kind of came undone. And some of the pieces are like completely detached here. Like, they're not even in the spots that they should be. And the other stuff is just, oh, so this whole thing, okay. So it came off and then those came off there. So it is just completely detached. So what I think we need to do is we need to use better tape. So I'm going to take this one off really nice and easily, and then you can kind of see what the tape looks like. So this is, an acid-free tape. So you can see on the back, I took it off this black mat here. And there's no like residue or black stuff, so it really doesn't take a lot of stuff with it as far as excess paper or anything like that. And so I'm just going to go ahead and take a couple of these off. We might even reuse some of them. And so like when I pulled quick and hard on the mat to kind of show you here, you can easily take off a little bit of the paper if you're not slow with it, but the adhesive on here is not so incredibly strong that you can't get away with going slow. So as you're pulling these off, you can see I'm just kind of taking it a little centimeter at a time. I'm lifting it very slowly, and when you do that, you come off all nice and clean. So one I took off with the black there, that was just directly on the frame, and I'll probably do another one here with this one so you can see. I'm just going to kind of get a corner up here, and then I'm going to rip this off. But it's not touching the art piece at all. So if I just rip that off, yeah, you'd see it got some of the black pieces there. And that is probably mainly with the museum rag mat, because the way it's made, it's not as like solid of a material, and I definitely would not rip off on the piece itself, the cell and or especially the paper background. Okay, so we're just taking these off. I'm probably going to leave these other pieces on the bottom on because I'm going to add a few more pieces of tape, and so those are positioned okay. And so we're just going to add a couple pieces here so that we can see. And I'm trying to, because I lined this up before a certain way that I wanted it, and so I want to try to make sure I get that the same way again. Okay, ignore my big old noggin coming through. I'm just gonna try to make sure. I think that's pretty good. That's lined up. I'm using the holes so I can see the mat through the holes at the top and see exactly how much space is between each one of them. So I'm just gonna go ahead and put a couple pieces of tape on here. And then I'm going to check and make sure it looks good on the one side. And then I'm going to add many more pieces of tape. All right, so here is an example of a piece of tape that was actually attached to the thing. And so I ripped it off very slowly, and so there is no damage to the print. These should be okay down here. I'm just gonna reseal those a little harder on the mat. And so there's more of a connection between them. And I'm gonna put stuff in the corner here, in each of the corners, and then I'm gonna flip it over and make sure it looks good before I go any further. And then I'm gonna tape the heck out of this guy to make sure that it doesn't fall again. And again, this archival tape shouldn't cause any major issues or damage overall. So I'm not going to put this down all the way. I'm going to try to show you what it looks like. So all the holes appear to be lined up pretty well. Everything looks good at the top there. So we're just going to go along and go ahead with this as is. Okay, so let's tape the rest of this, and then we'll put it back together, and we'll take a look at what it looks like. It should be pretty good. And what I try to do is as best as possible, especially on like these paint and or watercolor, I try to put the tape where there is no paint. And that might have been something that I did here because the paint might have more of a ability to come off. And so what I'm going to do is really heavily tape this other side that has no paint that's exposed, because I even like the way this bleeds through. If you open this up, it has a lot of character to it, just the fact that the paint bled through the back pages in that regard. So it's kind of cool. And so I don't want to lose that history of the piece, and so I'm going to put more tape where there is not some of that bleeding happening. Okay, I'm going to put one more over here. Okay, so the hope here is that it's not going to do anything major. So I am going to put, a couple pieces here. But what I'm going to do is I'm going to put them long way on some of the short spots of the paint. So again, if some of it were to come off, like it wouldn't be as much. But hopefully that will kind of support that area. And I'll put one last one here. It's a little bit longer. That also supports more of the actual piece. Okay, I'm going to do one of those on this side, a long one, and then one more over here next to some of the paint, so that, again, that back paint, if it were to happen to stick to the tape, wouldn't come off in great excess. I think that looks pretty good. So then what I'm going to do is to be extra careful. Try to give a little bit of extra support here. I'm going to take a big long piece, and I'm going to put it on top, pretty close to the thing, to be as close as possible, across these two, and kind of make a little bit of a grid. So this is going to help support and hold up those two pieces of tape, which are very much connecting to a longer piece of that. And for what it's worth, I'm just going to go ahead and do one long piece of tape here, and I'm going to put it across all of these, not touching the piece of artwork itself, but just touching the tape. And so hopefully this will give a little added piece of support to it so that it doesn't fall down. Okay, I think that looks pretty good. Yeah, I'm just going to put this back in. And I gotta twist this down there. So once we get this back in, which it's kind of not a fun job to do, because these little tabs are very like particular. Don't want to press down too hard. It like doesn't want to go around those. So let's see if we can. If I can't get it in, we'll probably end the video, and I'll show you, because I don't want to take your time having me adjust these little tabs here. Let me see if I can get some gravity to help me out. It's just very hard to get them in because this frame is so completely, like, it's a perfect frame. It's sized exactly the way it needs to and should be, but it struggles for those little tabs in the back. All right, so it's not working great. I'm just gonna go ahead and put one more tab down here just so this doesn't fall out. Let me show you what it looks like again. So there we go. So again, it's coming away a little bit there from the top because I don't have the tabs done, but it's fixed as far as that drooping is gone. So this, as soon as I get these tabs done, I'll just have to go a little bit slow, take a butter knife, and try to pull the tabs down. But overall, this should be pretty squarely fixed, and hopefully it won't happen again. So this just goes to show you that there's still some maintenance that needs to be done when you have a collection, and that's any collection you need to maintain. If you have, action figures or Funko Pops or something like that, you might need to dust them occasionally. You might need to make sure that they're not, buckling under the weight of themselves, so the cardboard doesn't ruin and stuff like that. If you have action figures, sometimes you make sure that they breathe so they don't get, the plastic doesn't get sticky because it's deteriorating because of lack of oxygen or something. There's a lot of stuff that goes into it. With animation cells, the biggest issue is with cells themselves, that they can start to deteriorate. They can develop what's called vinegar syndrome, and they actually chemically start to break down, and that can spread to other cells. So there's some things like that that are an issue. But with this particular piece, it wasn't that big of an issue. It just happened to sink. I noticed it, but it shows you that you have to keep an eye on your collection and make sure things don't occur that could damage it. If this had been a cell, a very expensive cell, it sunk, and it was actually touching the cardboard or the museum rag mat or something, it could potentially transfer paint or get stuck to it, and it could ruin that paint job on the cell. So the fact that this was just a background makes me feel better about that, but it goes to show you always have to keep an eye out on your collection and make sure that you're maintaining them appropriately so that you don't ruin something, because you want to be able to yourself enjoy these for years to come, but you also want to see if you can maximize the value if you decide to resell later on. You don't want to lose all of your investment on it, but you don't want to, sort of damage it either for your own personal gain, because you might end up wanting this in your collection until you die, and you might want to take it with you, like bury me with my animation cells. Don't do that. Share it with the world. But anyway, thanks for watching the Pop Art Hunter channel. Hopefully you enjoyed this and our other videos. We do a lot of stuff with animation cells. I got an Animation 101 series regarding the collecting of animation cells, how to frame stuff. I have a lot of Let's Frame videos where I show you this. I might have actually done one on the Arable Farm, and so you can look back and maybe see what I did wrong. Maybe I didn't use enough tape. We'll just see if I maybe didn't press it hard enough or something like that. So look back at my errors. But it shows you everybody makes mistakes. They're easily correctable. You just need to make sure you're aware of them and try to maintain stuff. So thanks for watching. Make sure you like, comment, subscribe, all those sorts of things, and we will see you next time right here on the Pop Art Hunter channel.